Hi all, so I wanted to come and talk to you about Mandeep Kaur. I'm sure a lot of you have heard her story of domestic abuse for years and then committing suicide. She was an Asian lady who moved to New York for her husband. And I don't usually comment on things that are going on in the world, but this is important. The reason is 1 in 3 women are physically abused by an intimate partner. And there's a reason why 1 in 3 men aren't convicted or spoken up against. In my opinion, there are 3 main reasons. Number 1, we think if you don't have your own financial independence, you don't have your own money, you are physically thinking, how am I going to survive? How am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to put a roof over my children's head? So you become very practical and you go into survival mode, and you're almost with this abuser purely to survive. So that's number 1. The second is you think, am I going to bring shame to my family and reduce their status in society? And as much as we don't want to admit it, status is actually coded in our DNA. And the higher status you have, the more likely you are to breed and have children. And so it's actually, it's part of our evolution, it's part of our DNA. And it's really up to us to recognize that and exert our free will. But there is a big role that's being played by status here. And the third is actually a lot of us, the vast majority of us, are also institutionalized. This means that whether you're at school, you have to listen to your teachers. If you're at home, you're listening to your parents. And after you get married, you listen to your husband. And so you tend to always give your power over to authority, and answering back or questioning authority makes you feel like you've done something wrong, that you've been a bad girl, that you are, not worthy of the situation. So as a mum, I obviously worry about this potentially happening to my daughter, and I'm sure every mum in the world, when they saw those videos, it broke your heart as well, and immediately your thought goes to your children. And so all I can do to prepare my daughter, again, are 3 things. Number 1, financial independence. Whatever happens in the future, she's going to have to keep her own financial independence, her own bank account and her own money, that if she decides at any point that she wants to leave any situation, she is able to from a practical standpoint. Number 2, reassuring her that whether she gets married or doesn't, whether it works out or it doesn't, it makes 0 difference to me. The most important thing is her happiness. And the reason is I didn't work this hard and sacrifice this much for my daughter not to be happy. That's all I care about. I don't care about what someone down the road thinks. And number 3, which is the hardest, and that is trying to prevent her becoming institutionalized. And she is, such a good girl. She's very obedient. She listens to her teachers. She listens to her mum. But actually teaching her that if you see injustice, speak up, including when I do something wrong. If I've made a mistake, or I've told you off for the wrong reason, or I've misbehaved in any way, stand up for yourself and tell me off. Stand up. You don't have to do it in a mean, rude way. There's a way to stand up for yourself. And I make it a point to apologize, because I don't want her to think that pulling rank is normal. When the person in authority is wrong, they should apologize and acknowledge it. And lastly, from a medical standpoint, the reason why this man was so abusive, and the reason why many maybe I shouldn't stereotype Asian men, but it is a problem in the Asian community, is for having girls. Now, just to tell you, from a medical standpoint, the way it works is that we provide the egg and you provide the sperm. The egg has an X chromosome. The sperm has either X or Y. So guess what? It is 100% of the time down to the sperm what the gender of the baby is. So anyone who blames a female for whether the gender of the baby is male or female is clearly illiterate.